The Nook.
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 The Nook. Welcome to the Nook Spotlight podcast, a podcast associated with the stream team The Nook. I'm your host, Hampy, and the format for this podcast is that every episode we sit down with one of the team members of The Nook and we talk about everything between life and video games. A little get to know the team podcast, so to speak. And today we're going to sit down and talk to the amazing, gorgeous, and talented Cave. How are you doing?
Hello. I am doing well. How are you, Happy?
I'm doing good. I'm very excited to talk to you. We've been talking a lot in voice chat and Discord because we're in the same time zone.
Yes, super exciting.
The other
super
ones I've been talking with and recorded episodes for, we haven't been in the same time zone, so it's been like tricky to find the same times and such. But now it's actually someone that I have been hanging out with a lot in voice chat and played Fall Guys and all kinds of games with. So that is awesome.
Speedrunners.
Yeah, speedrunners, exactly. Congrats, by the way. You did amazingly on the tournament.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I was knocked out first match. I was like, oh, I was just filling up a spot, basically.
No, you were totally a part of that.
Yeah.
Don't sell yourself short.
Well, that is true. Me and Mark had one hell of a battle, so I'm proud of that one. I'm proud to be the losing part of that battle. You're obviously a streamer, and tell us more about your channel and content on Twitch.
Yeah. So my name is CaveMobster, and people call me Cave. I am a channel that mostly focuses on mental health. We talk a lot about mental health and about what drives us during the day, or what doesn't drive us during the day, I suppose. And we, yeah. So what happens is when people come in the stream and I ask them how they're doing. When they say I don't feel good, I invite them to talk more about that, right? So we actually have conversations about how we feel, about how we deal with our mental health, and that has the goal of normalizing mental health. Because we live in a world where it becomes more and more normalized, but it's still really difficult to talk about, and I think you can agree on this when I say that you don't really want to disturb anyone with your dark thoughts, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, so that's what we need to normalize, I think, and so that's what we do a lot in the CaveMobster channel, I suppose. We also do a lot of hat wearing, I suppose. I have a lot of different hats, so I can show you.
She even stacks them sometimes too. She have multiple hats as well.
Exactly. We have the trucker cap, which we use for trucking and farming. We have a fedora, which is, a fedora is not, as a mobster, you have to have a fedora, of course.
Good looking one.
Right. And then we have a pirate hat, which is very random, but a lovely pirate hat.
Indeed. Love the feather.
And then we have, it's a good one, isn't it? It's like, sorry. It's handmade, actually. It's the only one out there. That one.
Wow.
I bought it on a fair. It was really nice.
Oh, wow.
Then we have the bucket hat, which I also wear on stream.
How comfortable is that to wear?
Well, I wear a beanie under it, so that it's actually sort of okay. And I also, because this is the thing, people can redeem them for channel points. So I can wear the bucket hat for 30 minutes, unless people, just ask for more, and the others go for 1 hour. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you were playing for farming and your truck. Tell me more about what games you're playing and what you do on your channel.
Yeah, so lately I've been playing a lot of simulation games. I like those especially because it allows a little bit more for talking about mental health, for example. It's less about story, it's less about skill. There's less skill involved. It doesn't really matter. So I just drive. I drive really badly. That's one thing, and this is why people enjoy it, I think. But it also allows, like, if I play, for example, Euro Truck Simulator, we drive from Amsterdam to let's say Paris, and that takes a while, and we talk a lot about stuff in between, all kinds of stuff, really. So that's really nice. So I can, like, really focus on the community and get to know them, and strengthen our relationships with everyone.
And that's such a good combination as well, doing simulation games and also having that open atmosphere to talk about mental health as well. As you mentioned, like, it leaves very much open for the conversations rather than, like, focusing so much on, like, a story or something on the stream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so for example, yesterday I played Noita on stream. I don't know if you know that game.
A little bit.
It's a roguelike, right? So it's you have to focus in order to not die, right? It's a skill, and you have to have a little bit of skill, and you have to do a little bit of reading about what the certain, like, items do. And I noticed that I was actually struggling with communicating with the community and, like, looking at what they were saying and really pay attention to that, right? And yeah, that's where I realized, like, oh yeah, so after that we did an hour of Euro Truck, and I immediately felt more relaxed and more focused on the community, which is what for me is the most important part.
And I recognize that so much with like, you're in a story or in a certain gameplay, and then you want to, at the same time, if there is something interesting or important in chat, you want to capture that conversation. And what I usually do, because I play a lot of games where there's, like, story and such. So what I usually do is, like, I press the pause button and I focus on, like, interacting with chat for a long while, and then I continue playing. Sometimes I forget to play the game again, so it's like it can pass, like, 10 or 20 minutes on a paused screen. So it's like, but it's a tricky part of being a streamer as well. We juggle so many things at the same time sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you want to, I guess what I like is to cater to, like, more people, like people that like lurking, people that like chatting, and people that are just there for the game, for example. And that's the fun part with the simulation games. It's you still play the game, right? So it's like you don't really have to pause it. I mean, pausing can be fine, right? But it's nice that people can still, like, see what I'm doing and laugh when I roll over with the truck again, but also listen to what I'm saying and what we are talking about in the channel. So it's really, yeah, in that sense, it's really lurkable as well, which is really nice.
Indeed. Tell us about the origin of your Twitch name, CaveMobster. I'm super interested.
It's not it. I want to say there's a story behind it, but there really is not. What I do when I think of such names is I don't want them. I always think of jokes, right? So I thought of cave, like, I don't know. So at some point I had CaveMonster in my head, and it sort of combined with, like, I sort of combined it with a mobster, and that's what came out of it. I don't know, really don't know why that happened, but it happened, and I was like, oh, this sounds fun. Yeah, let's do it.
So it was CaveMonster, and then you just swapped out a letter, and it sounded like, yeah, this sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, it's I needed something that you didn't need, like, numbers for, or, like, something that is really common.
Yeah.
I really wanted a name that was not out there, and CaveMobster is not. I've never heard CaveMobster before, so yeah.
True. And it looks very clean as well. As you mentioned, like, sometimes we want to be free of, like, numbers or underscores or such. So
yeah, exactly.
Looks clean, definitely. We go into another opening question. Take us back to the beginning of who you are. How was it to grow up as young Cave? Tell us about your journey growing up and to where you are now, both in life and in video games.
Right. Yeah. So I was born in the early 90s. I am from 1991. And I lived in the north of the Netherlands. I still do, by the way. I live like 6 kilometers from my parents away, so it's like, I never moved far. It was a village where I lived, very, very cozy, very relaxed, very quiet, really. I had a few friends, and it was really a relaxed childhood, I suppose. I never really had a lot of problems, not with people, not with a little bit with school, and I'll come back to that later as well. But I later found out that a few years ago, I found out that was because of ADHD. But yeah, so it was really relaxed. We had both my parents are still together. I have a brother and a sister. My brother is 4 years older than me, and my sister is 2 years older than me. And we had just I mean, is every family has something, right? So there's always been, like, I guess, a little bit of trouble, but I think that's normal. But I would say, in general, I had a really nice childhood. I was very autistic from so I remember as a kid that my dad was really autistic too, and he was really in the DIY and everything. So he made a what do you call that? Like an easel, like for painting.
Mm-hmm.
Is that called an easel?
No idea.
No, well, I mean what you paint on, right?
Yeah.
And there were like two sides of it, so my sister and me could both paint. And I remember doing that all day in the summer in my naked butt. And like in the backyard. I mean, I was a kid. I was like 4 years old.
Yeah,
it was like, it was fine, That's and what I mostly remember from my childhood. I don't remember a lot because my memory is awful. But I remember a lot of, painting, a lot of drawing, and I've always done that a lot. And horses.
Oh, horses.
I loved horses. I didn't ride a lot. Like, I only started that until I was like 8 or 9 years old. Still very early, but and then I quit as soon as I went to high school because you reach puberty and everything changes.
Yeah, and also the time as well. Like that's where grades and such starting to like take up more of your future choices as well in high school.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was overall it was really relaxed childhood, and I'm just really happy that I got to experience that, and not, when I hear stories, and I'm like, oh, I feel so incredibly lucky and so grateful that I got to, experience a really relaxed and happy childhood.
Tell us more. I see there's guitars in the background, and I know that you're very good at drawing. What about the aesthetic side of you? How's that in growing up as Cave?
So we have a few things in the background here. We have so these are the top piano, or I'm not allowed to call it a keyboard, apparently. It's a synthesizer.
Yeah.
It's a North synthesizer. So that is my boyfriend's one. And then the Spanish guitar over here is also my boyfriend's. Then that is my Western guitar, and that's my piano. I play piano when I was young. So we had this kind of mandatory thing as a child where you start with the flute, like the very standard flute, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the translation for it is to English, but like it's a very standard flute. And then as soon as you, I don't know when that happens exactly, but at some point you choose another instrument. So my sister, for example, chose another flute, the one that you play like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I suppose that's clear enough.
Yeah.
And I chose the piano. but I also quit that at some point. I mean, I've never been able to really like hold on to like stick to hobbies and everything. So piano was a thing that I played for like a few years, and then I quit. Yeah, drawing has always been a favorite of mine. I started when I was very young at school. I remember at school drawing horses. And we had like a little drawing club when that was in primary school with a few friends where we would draw horses. It was really cute. We were really cute with each other there. And so yeah, a lot of horses that we drew. But I also drew portraits of people. I remember going into the like when we were on holiday in France, go into the to like the lavender fields with my dad to make sketches and everything. Super cool. Yeah, so I was and dancing. I did street dance. I did jazz dance. I also did ballet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty I would say I'm pretty artistic in that sense. Like I also did theater. That's later on, but like you know it. I'm really I would say I'm not really a science type. I don't know what science is. You know, I'll just stick to creative stuff.
Yeah. Wow. So you got like all like 4 or 5 different mediums there. You have the music, you have the dancing, you have the drawing, a little bit of theater, and also like film in a way because you're a streamer. So it's like you're creating content through visuals as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's I started I do that. Yeah, well now with streaming I do. Exactly. Didn't do that before. I know that my dad is my dad always used to film us. That was really cool. Like we have so many videos of us, and it's really funny because my dad would always just film what was there. So whenever my sister and I, or my brother and I, or my brother and my sister got into a fight or anything, he would just ignore everything, and he would just film us, and you know he wouldn't interfere. He would just it was almost like we were like an one of those nature documentaries. Documentaries, right? It's like, oh, here you see Cave and her sister in a fight.
Oh, that sounds lovely. That sounds like a treasure to have so much material as well from your childhood and memories through that too.
Absolutely. Like my memory is really awful, so it's really nice to have like all these clips and everything, like these videos. There's hours and hours of videos, and you know I always see myself like I was always the quiet one. So and that was probably because I was always like everywhere with my mind. So I would just sit somewhere and I would just look at everything and just be quiet. And then you have my brother, or my brother was also kind of quiet, but my sister would always wanted all the attention. So she would run around and be all active and everything, and we were just like,
yeah. So it was kind of like loud in here and quiet out here for you.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the streaming part. How did you find Twitch.tv?
I gotta say, I don't really remember how I found Twitch, but I know that I knew about YouTube, and I wanted to start something on YouTube. So I made videos and I uploaded them. I made like gaming videos back then. I think I called myself Trip back then.
Trip.
That's like a few years ago. Yeah, because that used to be my gaming name, Trip or Triple, because Trip was always wasn't always available, so I would make it into Triple and then wrongly spelled with 2 P's, so it was always available. So yeah, I did that as a because I wanted to make videos, but I wasn't exactly sure how to and what to do and everything. So I just tried. But what I really missed about YouTube was I uploaded videos, but there wasn't really. It was really a lonely thing, right? You upload a video and then you wait for comments, or you don't get them at all, right? So it's like it's really asynchronous, and I don't really like the asynchronicity of that. And that's when I did some streaming a few years ago before I actually started on this channel. And that was more for fun, but it wasn't really, I was in a kind of a bad relationship back then, and I wasn't really feeling like I could do such stuff. Like I was really judged for that. So I quit that quite quickly as well. But then last year, so June 2019, I was talking to my current boyfriend about things, and he's really supportive. He's actually very active in my channel as well. He's a moderator, and he's really more often than not, he has really pushed me into, just keep going. You're doing fine. You're doing well. It's like he's been really supportive, and I was talking to him about Twitch and about how I would like to do that, and for a couple of reasons. For improving my speech, because I have trouble speaking. That's also because of the ADHD. There's a lot of ADHD involved here. My brain is really fast in thinking, but it doesn't come out as fluently, and that's something that I've sort of improved over time. Sort of. There's a lot of times where I just, where there's basically squirrels everywhere that distract me, and like, or I don't know how to, because there's also the language barrier, right? I'm Dutch.
Would you say that you are more like faster in the talk? Because I can feel that when I'm talking Swedish, like I'm very fast at talking, but when it comes to English, it's more like I'm trying to be slow so I don't stumble too much over my words or so. Do you kind of feel the same?
Yeah, I try to be slower, but it doesn't really, like, it just just comes out, and I just don't really have control over it, I suppose. I was told that it's part of my hyperactive that's my hyperactive part in ADHD, my speech. So I just speak. That's what I do.
But hey, that's also amazing when you're a streamer, because I mean that's a very, very good part to have, because you're the one who's leading conversations, and also you don't have any other voice or so to talk with. So it's like you gotta be the one who speak.
Yeah, exactly. This is also one of the reasons why I wanted to start it, because of, I was at that point I was really afraid that I would, annoy friends or my boyfriend with everything that I said, and I later found out that it doesn't really make a difference if I talk like 5 hours, per day, because I will just talk anyway afterwards. It's just there's no balance there. But it was really a reason for me to sort of an outlet for this. We call it word puke, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Like it just comes out, and it's like it works really well for streaming. Indeed, like it's you're just free to do it, right? And aside from that, it's also been a thing for confidence, I suppose. I've always been a very insecure person. Like I was taught when I was younger that I wasn't good enough, I suppose. Like it's one of my core values that I had, is that I am not good enough as a person. And that is something that I've been trying to change through streaming, and it really works well. It's like it really hurts sometimes, because my brain is like, every time I see success, my brain picks it up as something like, oh, we have to prevent this. We cannot let you have success. So that's where my brain goes like, you no, and that's where it's like anxiety and like stress comes from. But it's getting better, and I think it's been a really good choice. I also found out, like, through the streaming, that I'm actually really good at entertaining and letting people have a good time, I suppose. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I'm happy about that.
And also, like, I can feel that coming from, for example, YouTube, because growing on YouTube is so slow nowadays, because it's just so much on that platform. And when you go from that to live streaming on Twitch, because I've been going that route too, YouTubing for 4 years, and then I started streaming, tried it out, and I was stuck. Like I wanted to live stream, like this was the shit, literally. But
Yeah.
as you mentioned, there is such a lonely thing on YouTube as well. Like you work so hard to get that content out, especially when you're starting out in the beginning and you don't have a community or such. And you upload your video, you're waiting for comments. Maybe you get to know someone and you comment on each other's videos, but there's never that interaction, like direct interaction. It takes so much time to get into that with YouTube. While on Twitch, it just happens immediately and way quicker. And in a way also, like when I started out streaming, I did YouTube for 4 years and I think I got 100 subscribers. And I was like, okay, now I'm gonna start from 0 again, but on Twitch. And I was thinking, well, it's going to grow equally as slow, you know? You're gonna have to like have a lot of patience. But then it just happens so fast. It is faster to, in a way, grow on Twitch than on YouTube. And in that you mentioned about like taking in that success because it happens so quickly as well, then you'd be like, no, what is this? Wait, it's too fast, going too fast now. I'm not like ready or used to this in a way.
Mm-hmm.
That's also amazing, by the way, having a partner that supports you in those, how do I say, low days, you know? It's like, I don't know, I don't really want to stream today. But then you have this other voice and it's like, of course you want to do. You always feel great after you had a stream, or, you know, makes you push in a good way to actually, like, you know, you're in a way you're hanging out with friends. You're not just creating content. You're hanging out with friends in your community and you're having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's yeah, what you say, that's a really you have that immediate feedback, right? Like you talk to people and for viewers that's also a really nice thing, I suppose, because I think that's a really cool thing about Twitch, is that you can see people for who they really are. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people have like a sort of a mask, right? Like they have a, I mean, I think we all sort of have like an entertainment hat on or something, you know. But other than that, most of us are authentic in how we present ourselves, and it's really easy on YouTube through editing and everything to cut that part out and to make it really perfect. But that doesn't really make you connect to the creator. While as on Twitch, when you come in people's channel, you see that person and you get to connect to them or with them in a very authentic way, and also in a very direct way. And I think that's really cool. Way better than for me personally. I use YouTube still, I suppose. Like I watch videos, but I also create sometimes I create videos as well. Not gaming videos anymore, because I don't like, now that I'm used to Twitch, I don't really like that anymore. But I do use YouTube in a way that I talk more about mental health and, you know, spread that message more, I suppose.
Hell yeah, you're doing an amazing job with that. Taking the time as well. It's so important to destigmatize. I feel all of that. It's about goddamn time, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if we go to like you did a little jump from YouTube to Twitch, would you say? What did it look like in the beginning for you starting on Twitch?
Well, so I was lucky to have Alistair on my side. Alistair's my boyfriend. I don't know if I told that, but yeah, he's like, I called him Alistair. It's his name on Twitch as well. He was with me, so I didn't feel as lonely, I suppose. I never really had like 0 viewers. which I'm very grateful for. Because I know there's been a lot of people that were actually, you know, have been streaming for a long time, maybe shorter time, but they have streamed for 0 people. And I always have, yeah, exactly, right. So that's I'm super lucky, I think, to not have had that, even though I think that it's not necessarily a really bad thing, but like, I don't know, it can feel lonely too, right? If you have 0 people to stream to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't like, yeah, so Alistair was with me, and you know, at some point more people started coming in. I played a lot of Hearthstone at the beginning. I think I started out with 3 days a week, 3 hours or something, and yeah, I played a lot of Hearthstone, just you know, because that's a game that's really you can really talk about your decision making in the card game, and it's really easy to in between games also talk to people, you know. So it's a really good game to stream, I think, personally, to start with. At least that's what I did, and that worked really well.
How did you experiment out of that? Like starting with Hearthstone, and what did you play after that? What did you reach out for after that?
I think the next game I played was A Story About My Uncle, which is it's a story. It's a really short story, and it was like, I love that when that happens, because 30 hours of gameplay is not my, I get distracted before that.
Yeah.
So that was a really nice game. I don't know how I got it, like how I found it, but it was a really good game, and I found some more people through that, and then I think I just started doing variety, and I forgot. I know that I started doing Stardew Valley at some point, and I did horror games. I had a time where I did Freaky Friday, where I played a lot of horror games, which was horrible because I hate horror. But you know, it was people like to see it, and yeah, I gotta say, I played a lot of different games. I never really finish games, unfortunately, because of things, but yeah, yeah, there's I tend to try a lot of different things, and that's what as soon as I got bored of Hearthstone, I was like, what are we gonna do now? Maybe some of this, maybe some of this.
That's what we gotta do. Like, as a streamer, we just gotta keep on experimenting, so we don't get stuck. Because that's a completely different topic, to like get stuck with one game. And when you play that for like months, and then you want to switch, it's like, okay, but how do you do that transition? It's tricky. So definitely, like always, just keep on rotating and keep on experimenting.
Yeah, I personally, like, I know, for example, right now I have success, I suppose, with the sim games, but I don't want to get stuck on them, because I know that I mean, you get stuck on them,
yeah,
right?
there's gonna come a time where you're getting a little bit tired of it and you want to do something new.
Yeah, exactly. So what I usually do for that is I just play a game for like 1 or 2 weeks, if I can, you know, if I like it enough, and then I move over to something else. So like in those 1 or 2 weeks, people have enough time to see my me and my personality, and you know, get you know, stick on that, and come back for that, which for me works, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so in that sense, you can still keep on experimenting with what you do, and yeah, keep the variety in.
Indeed. So we're a part of the same stream team, and I remember that we got to know each other a little bit before we were in the same stream team. But who in the Nook stream team did you know before you were a part of the team?
I knew I Am Space Shark. Yeah. I was part of this, or part. I guess there was this certain group of streamers that I interacted a lot with. They were Commentator for You. They were Drobe Official, and Space Shark as well. And there was someone else, and I talked to them about things, and I don't know how exactly I found the team, because I don't remember talking with Space Shark about it, but I think I might have found it through Twitter or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the team, and it looked really cool to me. It looked really nice and very cozy, and all the people in there were very cool. And I was like, I want to be part of this. I need to be part of this. That's what I wanted. Yeah.
Who are your inspirations when it comes to streaming and content creation?
My first and foremost inspiration is our team leader, actually, Twiggy, or one of our team leaders, of course. Twiggy is I've not been in Twiggy's community for very long. I actually started watching her really after I joined the team. But yeah, she really I feel like I really connect to her in a certain like in a certain, how do you explain that? There's a certain sass that she has in her streams that I really connect with, right? That I really like, and that I sort of took over, like the what Tugboat has as well, a little bit like the listen, and the like. I even have the Tug's listen mug.
There you go.
Oh, it's Nick. Yeah, and I sort of took over those things a little bit, I think. But yeah, like Twiggy is really a role model for me. She's I like how she stays really true to herself, and still after she was able to keep the variety in, still make strategic choices for herself, and that way found her way to partner. And that's really inspiring to me, that she was able to do that without finding a game that would bring that to her, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was really her. She did that on her own, and that's what I really like. And just I just really connect to her personality, I suppose.
What are some of the most valuable things that you learned about being a streamer on Twitch?
I've learned so many things through Twitch. I've learned a lot of skills. First and foremost, I learned how to talk to people. I learned how to be entertaining. What the difference is between me as an entertainer and me as a person. I learned so many, like one of those, like those practical skills, right? I learned those, but I also learned about how you network. I mean, and what networking actually means, right? Like I sort of knew about networking, but I always thought of networking as a LinkedIn thing. It's like, oh, it's all business, and you just connect, and there's basically you have more recruiters. I personally have a lot of recruiters in my list on LinkedIn, and it's just really business-like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I thought that was the way to go. Like before I found the Nook, and before I found like that sort, like that part of Twitch, I suppose, I was really on a place where people thought networking was promoting your own stream in other people's stream, promoting, or like getting to know people with a pure intention to make sure that they know about your channel, right? That's what I thought was what networking was. I was like, I don't like this. I don't want this. This seems super ingenuine, I suppose. Super inauthentic. I was like, yeah. And then I guess I just switched over to other parts, and I don't know how exactly I got to that part, but I don't know. I guess I just look through recommended channels, and as along the way, I found people that I really, really connected with, I guess.
Who has like a passion for content creation? Like, 'cause that's where you come from in the core as well. You want to be creative. You want to create and focus on that,
exactly.
rather than like necessarily, oh, where's the where's the next step of the ladder that I can grab so I can like grow? Because I mean, that comes with it, to just keep on creating and also share that passion with other people.
Exactly. Like it's in the end, it's more about what you say. It's more about collaboration. It's more about really enjoying what you do, and you can easily pick out people that are just there for, you know, getting the popularity that they crave, or the money that they crave. And you see you can easily pick those people out, and then there's left over the people that really enjoy the art of streaming, right? Because I think it's really, if you put your heart and soul into it, I think it's really an art, and that's I think that's really really cool about the platform, and about how we do these things, that we can really what you say, you can really put in your creativity, you can really create, and you can keep coming up with new ideas, and with cool new ways to do things, and to engage people, and to entertain people, and it's really lovely. I love it.
I love it too. I love it too. So we're gonna go into some quick questions to get to know more about you.
Right.
So we're gonna do some randoms, we're gonna do some media-related questions, and then we're gonna do some short Twitch questions as well. So we start off with the random ones. What is your favorite animal?
The cheetah.
Why?
Well, I don't usually like pick a favorite animal, because I'm really like, I love animals, and I think all of them are really nice. But a cheetah is, I love a cheetah because it's not necessarily a pretty cat. Like, you have the pumas and like the snow leopards and everything. Those are really really gorgeous cats. Cheetah isn't really like gorgeous, but it's fast. Oh my god, it's super fast. It's like, it has a skill that it makes it stand out, right? And it's like, I don't know. I don't really like speed. Like, I don't, when I drive, whenever I drive, I don't drive anymore, but if I drive, I don't like driving really fast. I always keep this like keep to the speed limit, because I just don't really like going fast. But when I see a cheetah, I'm like, wow, this is beautiful.
You handle the speed over there, and I watch, kind of like.
Exactly. Yeah.
What was your childhood dream job?
I wanted to become a vet. No, yeah. Before that, before I actually had a brain, I wanted to be a giraffe. But
I would love working as a giraffe.
Right, yeah.
Holy smokes!
So that was my dream when I would grow up. I would want to be a giraffe, and then later on, of course, I found out that I couldn't be a giraffe. It's like, super disappointed. But yeah, you know. And then after that, yeah, I wanted to be a vet. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why?
And because of my love for animals. I've always really loved animals. We got a dog and cats when I grew up, and other than that, I also played with like frogs and with like snails and everything. Like, everything that was remotely living and animal, I would just, you know, play with, and not necessarily like play with in a mean way, but just, you know,
like taken care of in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like when we had mice, for example, in the house, like my sister would scream and would be very scared. I was like, oh, can I pet it, please? It's like, no. My parents are like, no, let's not do that. It's like they probably have diseases and stuff. I was like, but I want to pet it. It's so soft and
I want to take it home.
You know? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So another question: what gives you goosebumps?
A good guitar solo.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah,
How come?
I really so I grew up with blues and like classic rock, like 70s music. That was my thing, or it was my father's thing, and now it's my thing too. And Eric Clapton was one of the main artists that was in my dad's like CD inventory, I suppose.
Nice.
And yeah, and Eric Clapton is famous for his guitar solos, right?
Definitely.
So yeah, I remember also Mark Knopfler, by the way. I don't know if you know him. He's from
Yeah,
the Dire
Dire
Straits.
Straits, yeah. Really good guitarist.
Really, really good. And yeah, my favorite song of Mark. I like Mark Knopfler more as a solo artist than I like Dire Straits.
Mm-hmm.
I I hear my boyfriend scream now because he doesn't agree with that, but but yeah, it's like yeah, they have like I love it when I can hear a guitar solo and I can think, yes, I know who this artist is. I know this is very
Yeah.
very solid, very
So it's like a feeling that you get from the
yeah.
guitar solos that gives you goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly. I have so there's this song of Mark Knopfler, Speedway at Nazareth, and it's basically half of the song, like the end of the song is really just instrumental, and it's basically all guitar solo, and it's what I love most. And I never talk through that solo because it's too lovely not to, or to destroy it with talking.
Yeah, and that's what Mark Knopfler does it best, in my opinion. Like, sure, I like his style with he have talk singing, or like he's telling some kind of story when he sings,
Mm-hmm.
but that's really his ace when he just busts out the instrumental part of a song.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is your favorite candy?
I think I don't, do you know the sour rolls? Like they're like that's really sour candy. It's like sour and sweet at the same time. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
They
Is that a Dutch candy, or does it exist?
I don't know. I think it sort of exists outside of the Netherlands. I don't know.
But what is it called?
It's I think zuurmatten is what you call it in Dutch, but
Okay.
it's like yeah, sour mats. I would call them, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But they are like they're like strips, and they have like this sour and sweet stuff on it, like sugary stuff, and they look like red and green and
Different colors?
yeah.
So they're
Different
like a
colors.
long bar, like a small long bar?
Yeah, but not really a bar. They're like really floppy.
Oh, really? Okay. Then it's not the candy
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. Interesting. Okay. Everyone who's listening right now, go to Google. We need to need to find this out.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, there's so much. I don't really come into the store anymore, but like whenever I come into the store, there's this entire like lane of how do you say that, like full of candy, and it's like,
Heaven.
oh, get me. Yeah, but I think those are my favorites, or Chupa Chup.
Chupa Chup.
Lollipops.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Yep.
Okay, here's a tough question. What is one of your favorite quotes that you live by?
So I don't really live by quotes. I don't because I always forget them. So it's not really. But I do have I sort of think of the people behind the quotes, right? So there is a American Buddhist nun called Pema Chodron.
Mm-hmm.
I probably butchered that name, but I think that's how you call her. And she has like I actually looked up a quote for this, which really resonates with me, and it says, "True compassion does not come from wanting to help out those less fortunate than ourselves, but from realizing our kinship with all beings." And what that means is like that really resonates to me because I always see people, when they talk about compassion, I see people that want to help people, but to feel good about themselves, right?
Yeah.
So that they help people, if that makes sense. Like it's sort of like a it's hard to describe, but it's like it's more of a selfish reason than it's really is to help the people, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I love in this quote is where if you realize the kinship with all beings, we are in a strong sense. We are all really the same. We have all different stories, but if you leave out those stories, you see people that are the same. They have the same emotions. They have the experience. They experience the same sort of path through life.
Just helping out other people without thinking too much about yourself or what you get out of it, basically.
Yeah, it's like it's understanding how one can feel. Like when someone is scared, understanding their fear and connecting with them on that level, because you know that fear, right? In the basis, I suppose, in the base of the emotion, you know fear, and then there's the story on top of it. But you know fear, so that's what you connect with,
Yeah.
and that's how you reflect their like the kindness that you want to give them, right? Like you want to help them by knowing, by letting them know that they're not alone, and letting them know that that they are, that we are connected and that we are there for them. It's a bit hard. I've struggled to explain this,
No,
but yeah.
I understand. Yeah, it was. I thought it was well put. I thought it was
Okay,
well put.
cool. Thank you.
Okay, final question of some quick randos. What would you name the autobiography of your life up until this point?
I guess How to Live with a Squirrel Inside Your Head.
That's a good one. Love it.
It's yeah. I mean, I had a full of squirrels. Like I even have, like, in my stream, I have a command for, I have the squirrel command.
Yeah.
And it will tell you, like, it will say the squirrel, like from the Up movie. I've never seen that movie, but I know that there's the squirrel thing that the dog says, and it will, like, in chat, the bot will tell you how many times I was distracted.
Mm-hmm.
So, or how many times I've been distracted from what I was saying or something.
And everything you told about yourself up until this point, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense that you picked that title.
I'm happy to hear that.
We go into some media questions.
All right.
So let's talk about music. What is your favorite music genre?
Blues. Well, I have two: blues and classic rock.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. Yeah, they are. That's what I grew up with, and I still love those. Yeah.
And you mentioned Eric Clapton and Mark Knopfler. Is there any other acts, band, or artist that you come to think of?
Phil Collins is one of my favorites. Genesis. I guess. Oh, let's see. Can I pull my Spotify list out?
Mm-hmm.
I use albums, right? I don't really use playlists, because I'm really in for, when I want to listen to music, I really want to listen to one particular artist, and not necessarily like a group of artists.
Yeah, you want to get, like, the whole artwork, so to speak, of, like, the album you're listening to, the album, not just like, I'll pick out the best songs and put it in a playlist.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
I like, for some I do. For some I don't really care about the entire art that they made, but a lot of artists have really thought about the way they present their albums, right?
Yeah. And
I want to experience that, right? So that's what I want. I have Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, The Course, which is a are they Irish? No, I forgot. There's a French artist, Francis Cabrel, which is a lot blues as well.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Cocker, one of my favorites as well.
A good one.
Johnny Cash.
Good one. Classics, yeah. Classics.
Simon and Garfunkel, Van Morrison. Classics. Yeah.
What about worst music genre?
Hardcore.
Hardcore.
I get so anxious about hardcore. It has, like, that really strong, like, beat in there, or like I literally get anxious of that, and I really, really don't like it.
Gotcha. And that's a valid reason why it's the worst music genre for you. Anxiety like sucks. Like, get it out of there.
Yep.
Let's talk about movies. What is your favorite movie genre?
So I don't really watch a lot of movies, and that's because I always forget what they are about because squirrels. Um, so, but I always love because I always enjoy the movies in a moment, right? Like, I don't really care much for like morals or like something like that. I like the movies in the moment, and then it's okay to just forget about it because I like the feeling that I had with the movie. So my favorite would be action, because it's really catering to my inability to really focus. So action is just all over the place, and
exactly.
explosions and stuff, so it's really it doesn't really matter if you miss a lot because it's just entertaining anyway.
Yeah, and you can easily pick it up usually to like, oh, what has happened? Oh, this and that. Okay, it's not like you have to, it's not like a Rubik's Cube. Like you have to take one step at a time and explain how it was. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I had to watch Inception, for example, like 3 or 4 times to understand what really happened.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Avenger movies I can easily watch because they're not really like complicated or anything.
Yeah, I agree on that. What about the worst movie genre?
Horror. I can handle games now, but that's because I can really like, I sort of have the control a little bit in horror games, right?
Yeah.
But in movies, I don't have the control, and I hate having no control. So when people scare me, or when things scare me just out of the blue and I have no control over it, I hate that.
Like, yeah, I can imagine. It's like when you're watching a horror movie, it's more like you're going on a amusement park ride in a way. It's not super amusing, maybe, but yeah, you just have to ride along, and there's not much you can do. Whether in horror games, like you can actually have more control, because yeah, you're literally in control when it comes to horror games.
Yeah,
definitely. What would you say is your favorite gaming genre?
Simulation, I found out. Yeah, so why that is like simulation is really a really objective way of playing games. I think you don't really need a lot of skill for it. You don't really need to have a lot of attention for it. You don't really need a lot of puzzle solving skills or anything for it. You just do. I just drive a tractor over a piece of land, and that's what is happening. I drive a truck over a road, and that's what I'm doing. So it really doesn't interfere with my insecurities and my my, how do you say that, the feeling that I'm doing it wrong, right? That I'm making mistakes.
Because we've been talking about it a lot, like outside of this episode, in voice chat, that when you're doing simulation games, it's more like you have this open area. You have like a playground where you get to create the content, other than, for example, having a story or something that is set, and it's more like of experience it or react to the story itself. And you mentioned to me that you feel like it works more well with you, that you get this playground and you get to create the content.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really what I love. Yeah, so I mean, I can, with the sim games, for example, I'm really, like I said, I'm really bad at driving games. I did it with keyboard first. That was horrible, and then I got a wheel, like a Logitech wheel, and it went better, but I'm still really bad at driving, and I even let people interfere with it. Like, I have a honk alert, or people pay bits to let that alert go off, and it scares the shit out of me. So I just pull, I can tumble over. Probably there's a chance that I will do that, and that it will end up in a horrible like accident and everything.
Yeah.
And that is, like you said, that is how I make it more of a how I create more of the game instead of the game creating it for me, so I can react to it. Because the problem with that is, like, I like stories and everything, but I miss so much of the story that at some point I don't really know what the story is about anymore.
Yeah.
Because my brain is just, and especially with streaming, which makes it even worse, because you're with the community, and you're you're constantly switching between like your attention between the community and the street or in the game. It's really hard to pay attention, like to fully get what is happening in the game.
There's a lot to juggle, as we mentioned earlier. Like if you try to focus on a game and then maybe you have something in chat that you want to catch a conversation or something, and then it's like squirrel raid, and it's like, you know, there's so much to focus on. So I can imagine that, definitely. What would you say is the worst gaming genre then?
RTS.
RTS.
And especially like StarCraft 2. I don't know if you know it.
Yeah.
It's like the insane amount of multitasking that goes into those games. It's, you know, turn-based I can handle, but like real-time strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember playing StarCraft 2 with a friend at the time. Like that was like years back. And he was really good at a game, and I am not really good at a game. So I was like, we were like playing, and at some point he texted me like, "Oh, hey, I'm just gonna take a shower, okay? Just continue playing." It's like, okay, well, sure. I'll just continue playing. So I try to build my troops, you know, and I try to build my base and everything. And and he's like, he comes back. He's like, "Oh, okay." He probably sent like a scout to see how my base was doing. And it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a sandwich. I'll be right back." It's like, and meanwhile, I was still fully focused on the game, really trying to make something out of it. And he comes back. It's like, "Okay, are you ready?" "No, but sure." Okay, so he sends out his troops and he destroys me in one moment. I was like, well, that is an experience.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine like that is not something you take to the stream, for example, then, because then not only do you have to focus on so much happening in the game, but then it's also everything else with streaming as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And as a game in general, I don't really like the genre at all, because it's like I just can't do it. It's not possible for me to actually enjoy that type of game, because I don't have the attention span for it, fortunately, and the multitasking skills.
So that was it for the quick questions. Now we go into questions that are more around or outside of streaming. And we're going to touch on the topic of what are your interests and hobbies outside of streaming?
I have a variety of hobbies and stuff outside of streaming. I literally like everything. I want to try everything. So here's the squirrel again. The squirrel makes it like the squirrel's my how do you say that? My main line into my life in my life. It's like the squirrel just decides my route.
Mm-hmm.
So the squirrel wants to do, for example, cross stitching. It's like, oh, this is fun. We'll just do some cross stitching. And at some point, squirrel goes somewhere else, and I'm drawing again, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we draw a little, and then we're going to music. And I have I wrote this down. I think, but there are like a few things that are really like, you know, that will always be there, I suppose, a little bit. And those are the music part. Like I like singing. I like playing piano and guitar. And I have an interest in. So personal development is one of those things that is really personal development and mental health, I suppose, is really a really important topic to me. It's been the cats are fighting. Or not fighting, but they're like annoying each other. Squirrel, but
yeah, exactly, cat.
But yeah, the personal development part is like. So I've been in therapy for years. Like I started that when I was like 18, 19, and you know, I had years off therapy, but I always come back to it because therapy is a way for me to learn more about myself and how I can you know live better with myself, I suppose.
Yeah.
And the personal development part is well, I mean, really closely tied to that. I always try to find ways to be more productive. I always find ways, or try to find ways to understand my brain a little bit better, and to work with my ADHD, for example, to be a better person in general to other people. Yeah, that is like I guess I'm sort of on a journey in life to find out who I really am and what I stand for and how I can be the best person that I can be, both to me and to other people.
That is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And also letting this squirrel, like, you follow the squirrel in your life and you get a very rich life out of that. Like, you do cross stitching and you do music, and then you get interested in dancing, drawing. Like, it takes you everywhere and gets you, like, into so many beautiful places as well.
Absolutely, it's really, I really enjoy that. Like I've struggled with it for a long time with the constant switching, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen all those people that are really good at stuff, right? Like they're really good at a certain sport that they do, or they're really good at playing a certain instrument, or And I was never able to do that. I would try, but I would burn out on it because I was simply not interested anymore, and I could not accept that from myself. I could not accept that I was led by a squirrel. I suppose, yeah, that it was a squirrel that was in control of what I do and not me. And
Yeah. And it's also like going into those thoughts as well, like with therapy and all, to realize that the squirrel is not someone you go to war against. It's a friend that you follow along with through life.
Yeah, and it's like, especially I mean it's why I call it a squirrel, because I could call it like a more negative thing, but I love animals and I love squirrels. Squirrels are beautiful, so it's really easy to connect to that, what you say, to connect to that as a friend, and to make it a more positive idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is like, I really love that. And then there's also the part of where Buddhism comes in. I mentioned the quote before of the American Buddhist nun, and I found Buddhism through a friend who used to be my friend, and she's a Buddhist, and it looked really interesting to me. Buddhism is a really I'm always very, very open-minded. Like I look at things like Buddhism, but also Christianity. Is that the word for it? But also like all kinds of religions, really, to see what is driving people to what adds that thing to a person, what value does it add, not only in religion, also in other things, right? Like whenever people are very enthusiastic and like very passionate about something, I want to know what that is. I want to know what drives them, so
Exactly.
that,
And whatever in a way, whatever floats your boat, in the way of beliefs, or if it's spiritual, and get to know that. And who knows, maybe you focus on that, or you pick a little bit of everything and you create your own buffet of life values.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's the inspiration that comes with it that is really, really beautiful. I think when I hear people talk about what they are really what they're really excited about, it inspires me to it not only inspires me to do to add that to my life or something, but to just see people talk about what they love. That really gives me like a spark,
Yeah.
not necessarily a spark that I have to do anything with, but just a spark of like, this is so good. I'm so happy to see this,
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And Buddhism is closely, I think, related to that, to look more at them about what you see in that moment, right? And how you feel in that moment too. And the most important part about Buddhism, or the most interesting part I think about Buddhism, is how to deal with how you disconnect your emotions from your story. It's what I talked about before. Like, yeah, you're in the base. We're all connected with emotions, and there's a story on top of that. But if you, there is something, and that's what they meditate for. is to disconnect the story, like the thoughts, from the emotions, so that they can see that emotions in itself don't kill you.
Yeah.
And the stories don't kill you, but the stories don't matter in the end. It's the emotions that you can learn to accept, and you can learn to work with, and that they're actually there for a reason, and that they're okay, and that they won't kill you, and that they're just part of you. And if you give them the attention that they crave, that they will stop bothering you, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go more into that. Like, because we all, as humans, we struggle with something, and a lot of us struggle with mental health. What has your journey looked like regarding mental health and mental illness?
So, when I was a kid, when I hit puberty, I I went to, how do I tell this? Let's say I first noticed, I first struggled. I think we all do, with feeling bad and feeling like very conflicted and struggling with things when I hit puberty, and that resulted in very heavy fights with my dad. My dad couldn't really handle my puberty, and I couldn't really handle the way he dealt with it, because I wasn't sure what I was doing. And so I got these anger management issues, I suppose, where I would just at some point explode and just uncontrollably rage. And that is what I first got to therapy for. That was when I was 18 or 19 years old. So it really took a while before I actually got into therapy. I did that the moment that I left my parents' house and then went to live on my own. So yeah, I at that point I learned a lot about myself, and I learned that I had in general I had a very good youth, but childhood. But there were also values and things that I got from my parents and from my environment, from my brother and sister, for example, that weren't necessarily good for me, or values that were not very good for me. And I learned about those, and I learned how to deal with those, and I learned how to help myself better, how to be more comfortable with myself. So like I said before, I've always had a problem with accepting myself for who I am. I always I always have this very strong urge to do better and better and better, because I never feel like I'm good enough. Because that's the value that I got. And it wasn't on purpose, of course, but it was how I was raised. And it that was a really, really strong value in my life that really shaped me up until now, I suppose, because I was burnt out in I got a burnout, like a serious burnout, in 2017, I think. Memory is but I think 2017. I was working for a year and a half after I graduated, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was also powerlifting for like what was it, 12 hours a week, and I was
Wow.
working a 40-hour job.
Oh, wow.
It was really tough, and I had lots of other issues to deal with, and I just burned out, and I was sick for 3 months before I actually started working again, and building my work hours back up. And that was really the moment where I understood that that I need to work on this value of that I can be good enough, right? That what I do, that it is good enough. And it's a really long process. I'm not there, and I will not be there for years, but it's a very slow and steady process.
Yeah, and it's like when you have grown up as well, and the brain is used to thinking that you are not good enough. It takes so much time to just reverse that and to be like, no, I am good enough. It takes so
Exactly.
much time. And add to that, like, I don't know if there is scientific proof, but I really, really think that anxiety and depression, all that, it's just frying your brain so much more as well into just go deeper into that as well, which makes it harder to turn around and believe in yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I don't really like I'm not sure if I really experience the like the strong depressive feelings that I see a lot of people struggle with, and I'm really grateful for that. But I do see what I do see is yeah, that same problem that I have, like not feeling good enough. I see that a lot in other people as well. I see so many people these days struggle with who they are and accepting their feelings and accepting, being kind to themselves. And people try so hard um, uh, to be good to others, but they forget about themselves, and it's such a painful thing to see. It really hurts my soul when I see that. Like, now that we have internet 24/7, and especially social media, you see so many more opinions. You see so many more um, influences that you forget about yourself. You see so many of others that you forget about building your own identity. Um, and that's something that so many people I it's that's at least my perception. It's I see so many people struggle with their own identity and how to solidly build their own identity and get a strong, solid self. Um, or a strong, solid self, but more like a sort of comfort that they can have with themselves to be okay with other opinions, for example, with their own opinion, and yeah, be okay in that moment and don't and not like stress out and get anxiety because of it, even though it makes a lot of sense. But it's like,
Yeah, more now more than ever, we really compare ourselves to others, whether it's like life progress or how good we are at something. And even, yeah, it comes in there like, am I good enough to even be at this stage that I am and the age that I am? Like, should I have done more or should I have, we compare so much to like follower numbers and all that as well, like something small as that. Oh, this person has like 1,000 followers more than me on Instagram, or we compare so much to so many unnecessary things that shouldn't be a part of our like values of life. Really, we should
yeah,
both focus on ourselves but also focus on others, but in a healthy
yeah.
way.
It's yeah, and that's a really difficult one, right? Like our life has like the world has changed so much since
So quickly.
internet was introduced,
Yeah.
so quickly indeed. Like years ago, like 30 to 40 years ago, what you did is you grew up, you went to school, you maybe studied if you could, and then you just went to work, and for a long time that was what you did, right? You worked, and you just did that.
Yeah.
You started a family,
Took in
and
everything
then
that
you
was nearby, like maybe you read some magazines, maybe you went to a concert or something like that. But now it's like we got the whole world in our hands basically. We can like look
exactly.
up literally anything. We can learn about anything. And it's unfortunate that our brain goes towards comparing ourselves to other people.
Yeah, yeah, and it also opens up so many more possibilities, right? Like I years ago you couldn't consider content creation as part of as a career, right?
Yeah.
And now you see people working on Twitch full time, like they have a YouTube channel with millions of subscribers. that will give them a full-time income. And it's such an interesting, it's such a different view of what it was. What it was, because it's in a way it's really the same as, or it's really similar to being an artist, like on stage, like a musician, or like a painter or something like that. It's a really creative process. But it's so much more direct than those things, right?
Yeah.
You directly communicate to people, and it seems so much more reachable than getting to Hollywood and be famous there, or
yeah, exactly. That's not like the bigger goal nowadays. Like one way I was affected about, and I remember it so well, because on the topic of not being good enough, my mom would always say, because I was like doing acting and theater when I was like, I started at 8, and then I was like a teenager. I brought that with me, and it was always like, oh, well, my mom said, like, even though it jokingly, but it affected me, like, he like, oh, you're one day going to bring me to the red carpet, and hearing that all my childhood, like, nothing I really did felt like I was going towards that direction of greatness or fame. But nowadays it's like that doesn't necessarily have to be a goal. Like, I can use everything that I know in a completely different way for streaming, for example. Like, as you mentioned, it is literally like being out on a stage, and you're an entertainer. You perform, and you can use like everything that with knowledge and everything. You can kind of go different ways nowadays. It's not just like, oh, you have point A to point B, zoom, it's that way to go. You can, like, literally internet opens up for that. Definitely.
Yeah, I remember I think it's a graph, like a funny graph that Hekime posted at some point, that that was more of a specifically for streamers, but it goes for everything, right? Like what people think a streaming career will be like, and it's like a straight line.
Yeah.
And then what it really is like, and
yeah,
it's like,
exactly. It's like a fly. You can just go around.
Yeah, it just goes everywhere, and it's like there's not one way to do things, and it's also what I personally struggle with when it comes to content creation and making, I suppose, a living out of this, because that's what my goal is. I want to make a living out of it because of not necessarily because I want the money, because I don't really care for money. I care for money in the sense that I want to feel that I want to be able to pay my bills, right? I want to have a roof above my head, and I want to have something to eat and to drink.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to take care of the cats. That is what is important to me. And but what is more important to me, no, it's not entirely true. What also is important to me, and that's for Twitch, is that I can provide a space and like make a community.
Yeah.
And provide like facilitate a community where people can feel safe, where people can feel like they're at home, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like they can connect with each other, and they and that is what my real goal is. I don't like, it would be really nice to have like a good income from it.
Yeah.
So that I can keep going, and so that I can keep providing that space.
Yeah, you can
right?
put more time into it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I noticed. Like I quit my regular job. I was a front end developer. And I quit that job because I was, gonna get fired anyway. But but 4 months later, I would be fired just about now. I quit officially in June, but I had so many vacation days that I just quit at like the start of May, which was nice. And I was like, okay, I have savings. I am very, very confident about my ability to work out my finances, right? So I calculated how much time I would have to until I needed another job again. And I figured, okay, so I have 5 or 6 months until I need to start finding a new job again. And that was really the moment where I was, actually considering streaming to be my main thing. Like, technically, I'm a full-time streamer now. It's really something that I struggle to say, or to struggle to actually acknowledge for myself, because it feels like it's unreal. It feels like it's like I don't deserve that, right? Or that I shouldn't do that.
You are good enough to be a full-time streamer, okay?
Good point. That is the problem. I'm like, am I good enough?
Yeah, but I feel the same. It's like, can I do this full time? But technically, we already do, because like we have a schedule. Like, you stream these or those days, and you have time set aside for it. You're doing it on full time. Full time doesn't necessarily have to be like 40 hours a week, or you do the math around that. It's more like it's you're doing this every week. It's a full-time gig.
Yeah, it's a majority of the time that you spend on it. Like, right? Like you like I personally spend 20 hours per week on streaming, and that's only on streaming, because then aside from streaming, you have so much. Like, you have the networking part. You have the you have to like keep creating new. You have to look for new games to play.
Yeah.
You have to improve the visuals. Maybe you have to look into new commands. You have channel specific things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it feels fresh, exactly. And it's like there's a lot of time that goes into streaming. And I set up a company for this. Like, I registered as a company to do this, and I have to, like, in order to get like tax benefits and stuff, I have to keep my hours and everything.
Yeah.
And I really struggle to keep my hours, so I basically just keep my hours from streaming and from when I'm actually sitting down to do something like editing videos for Twitter or for YouTube, right? But there's so much more that involves the streaming part, like especially the networking, where I just actively engage with other streamers to find new inspirations and find new people to enjoy their content, and to enjoy a conversation with them and to make friends. And it's so much time that goes into it.
Yeah. There's definitely that balance of, like, because I hear so many people that is like, oh, you gotta grind, you gotta put in 8 hours per day, just do it, just stream, but that is not the point. Like, that is not really how you grow. As you mentioned, it's really a balance of doing your own thing, but also like supporting others, finding connections and friends who supports you. You can support back, and just have a good time outside of that sphere as well.
Yeah, you have to, like, I think what's really important is to define for yourself what success is. What is your, like, so many people start the streaming thing with the idea to become Ninja, or to become another big streamer, right? And to have that financial security and the popularity that comes with it.
Yeah.
But they don't really look at what it takes to get there, because there are so much. It isn't just putting a camera on your face and just play a game. It's not what it is. There is so much. Like, after a 5-hour stream, I am exhausted.
Yeah.
I am, you've been talking for 5 hours, which is like, especially at the start, I was like, holy crap, my voice is, it hurts a little.
Yeah, it is a workout, both for like the mind, the voice, especially as well, and like also doing it healthy. Because I mean, we're spending a lot of time sitting down, which, like, a human body isn't really created for sitting down like an entire day. It's meant for like moving, and so there's a balance in that as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's like in order to, yeah, what you said, like, in order to keep it healthy, you have to put a sort of mindset to it and not think of it as a grind, because why would you grind? What is the fun of grinding? If you're grinding for something, then it automatically sounds like you're doing it not because you think it's fun, but because there is some ulterior motive or ulterior goal that you need to reach in order to really make it fun for yourself, right?
Yeah, and it's like there's a big guarantee in a way that you will get burned out, and you will burn out your viewers as well to just be on all the freaking time. Like the special occasion of like, hey, I get to hang out with Cave today, that kind of disappears if, like, for example, you would go 12 hours or something like that very, very often, or say like take it more like 8 hours per day or something.
Yeah. Or not, or even go like 4 or 5 hours, but go with the mentality of like, oh, I need to do it again. I need to do 4 or 5 hours of streaming again, because it will. Again, for example, I played Dark Souls 3 at some point, and it was a great game until I got stuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's. I mean, Dark Souls 3 is like, it's such a game where you easily get stuck. And I got frustrated, and I got sort of burnt out on that game. But because it was giving me good numbers, I was like, I want to keep doing this. I want to, because people apparently like it, but the numbers went down in the end. And I didn't really understand what was happening until I pulled myself away from that game and started playing something else. That's where I realized I was super unhappy with that game, and I was burnt out, and that showed. I mean, you don't hide those things, right?
No, yeah.
I didn't have any energy. I was really saying the same things the entire time because I was really frustrated, and I had a really negative attitude in general. And people picked up on that, of course, and they are like, "Yeah, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch someone who has a lot of fun in the game."
Yeah.
So they went away, and that left me with people that were very, and I'm really grateful for those anyway. People that were just there because they've always been there. For example, also, there's a difference between having a bad time and not feeling well, for example, which is an interesting thing. This is also what I encourage or what I do on the mental health part of the stream, is where so last week I had a really bad anxiety. I wouldn't call it an anxiety attack, I think, but I don't know what that is, like what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have been that one, but I suffered a lot from anxiety that day, and I was just feeling horrible, and I cried the entire day, like morning until like in the afternoon, and I had a stream plan for that day, and I was like, should I do this? It's like, yes, I should. Because this is exactly the part, like, you can talk about mental health, which is already a very good thing. But you can also show it, you can also show what is, like, if you don't feel up for it, then you shouldn't do it. But I feel confident enough in my emotions to share that with other people while I'm feeling it, right? So I turned on the camera and I was like, I don't know what to do today, because I feel horrible.
Yeah.
And I was even like crying at some point, and like I was feeling horrible. I told people about how I felt, about what my brain was telling me, and how I did those things. And it's like, I think that can be very beneficial. And so, like, if you're confident enough to show your to be vulnerable like that on camera, on stream, I think that can be really good.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, you're a huge inspiration, Cave, because you're very open with mental health, but also ADHD. And to just be so open about it, not only do you create a comfortable, safe place with that, but it's also like you get to learn a lot about yourself and just so much more in being so open.
I'm really happy to hear that. That is exactly what I try to, what I try to put out there, because I know what it feels like when no one is listening. I know what it feels like when I feel bad, but there's no one there to listen to me and to tell me that it's going to be okay, and that it's that what I'm feeling is a feeling that will pass, and that other people have it too, right? It's a very um, it's a very lonely feeling, and I don't want people to feel alone. I want people to feel, especially when they struggle with something like ADHD or autism or OCD or depression or whatever it is. I don't want people to feel alone. I want people to feel like they can be there with other people, and they can talk to other people, and that they can that they that they don't feel alone. That is my one goal in it. Like,
Yeah, we have the
yeah,
same values there with streaming. Same here. I come from that place of like with mental health, in a different way, like struggling with depression, anxiety, and a lot of other things in my life, and like just the core thing for me is like I want to be the friend I wish I had when I went through those dark times, basically.
yeah, yeah. I noticed that in your stream as well. It's like it's really a very soothing, like really relaxed space to be, because you are that friend that is there for them, right? For us, for us viewers. You're there to help and to support when things are not as great as as we want them to be, right? And I really love that. That's also, you're an inspiration to me as well, and it's the same way the other way around. It's like, yeah, um,
Thank you.
I really feel safe in your channel too. Yeah.
Same. Thank you. On the topic of mental health, what are your tricks and coping mechanisms to keep your mental health in check?
So my most important thing is to that goes back to the stories that I told about, like the stories that are on top of the emotions. What I when I feel bad, I tend to want to understand what is going on and why I feel a certain way. But oftentimes it doesn't really help. It doesn't really help to feel bad and then understand why I feel bad, because oftentimes there's so many reasons, so many triggers involved, that it's really hard to figure out why that is. And what you're doing then is you're passing, or at least I do, I ignore what I'm actually feeling, and I try to rationalize it. Well, what I need is comfort. I need to feel that emotion, and I need to feel what I feel, right? And if I try to understand what is happening, I will just neglect that feeling. So usually when that is, it doesn't always work, because my my that part of my brain is sometimes way stronger, a lot of times way stronger. But when I am able to do so, I try to, basically what Pema Chodron says, drop the story. So I try to get back to my breath, and I try to understand what I'm feeling and where I'm feeling it. Do I feel a knot in my stomach, or do I feel a knot in my throat? Where do I feel it? And I just try to understand or not try to understand, but I try to feel what is there. And then when I feel tears coming up, I just try to like let it out.
Yeah.
Knowing that it will pass. It's not always working. It's a lot of times it's not working, but it's an idea the idea that helps me. Like sometimes, hopefully, I remind myself of it. So the story is still important, right? In the end, like at that point, it's not important, because at that point, emotion is important. And then as soon as you get out of that, or when at a point where you're more stable again, then I try to look at the story, and I try to understand why did I get triggered there? What happened? And oftentimes, because my mind is more clear, it's not like as clouded as it was when I was feeling bad. I get to understand more about how that actually worked, and I get to look back about to what was actually happening at the time that I felt that. and I try to compare it to what happened before. And so there's like a different. Yeah, I try to separate my emotions, like, and that is more of the keeping the mental health in check, like in the moment, like, giving that emotion some attention, and
letting it out if
and
necessary.
yeah, exactly. And then in general, I would say sleep enough. That's what I find.
Yeah.
I try to sleep, and I try to try to sleep enough, not too much, because that will be that will be counterproductive for me as well.
Yeah.
But and then I guess what I have as a standard thing now after stream is that I go take a walk with Alistair around the block, and it can be like, I don't know, 5 minutes if we don't really feel like walking, or where we just walk a little further and it becomes like 15 or 20 minutes or half an hour, so that I can just tear myself away from the screen for a bit and just reconnect with my being instead of my stream, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what's around you and everything.
Yeah,
in you.
exactly. Yeah. And then there's meditation. I don't meditate at all at the moment. Might be because my cat has peed on the cushion.
Oh, thanks, cat.
Excuses. Yeah, great. No, it's excuses, right? You can meditate everywhere if you want to, but like, I didn't do it before that either. But I know that meditation really helped me in my mental health, in the sense that I was really able to, because when you meditate, you sit down and you keep practicing to get back to your breath, right? And there are a couple of things about that I really find interesting, that really help me, is that so clearing the mind is something that I don't really is a nice way of saying things, but it's not really what I notice when I meditate. It might be because of my ADHD, because of my brain is like always full of things. But it's more about the habit that I keep going back to my breath, so that I can also apply that in situations outside of meditation. So because it becomes a habit, because it becomes something that is familiar to me, I can, whenever I feel bad or whenever I feel like something's happening that I don't feel well, I'm able to come back to my breath and to separate the thoughts from that emotion, what I talked about before as well.
Yeah.
And then there's the general idea of meditation, that you train your brain. It's like it's a brain training, really. If you look at it really like objective, it's really a brain training.
Yeah.
You try to focus on on something again and again and again, and your brain becomes better at it, and
that's such a good way to pick things apart as well, that you mentioned that, separate the thoughts from the emotion. Like you kind of separate that, pick it apart a little bit.
Yeah, it makes you feel like it really makes you understand why that your thoughts are just thoughts, and that you don't have to, that they're not necessarily real, if that makes sense. Like, it's they're there, but that you don't have to believe them. You don't have to believe that your thoughts are saying the truth. And it's really hard sometimes, because your brain can be so convincing. It's super hard sometimes to understand or to separate yourself from those thoughts. But meditation really helps for it, because you keep distancing yourself from the thoughts. You don't like push them away or anything, but you just acknowledge them. Like you're basically saying, "Oh, hey, I'm thinking. Cool. Okay, and now back to the breath, right?"
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you just continue doing that, and you're being really kind to yourself in that way. You don't say, thoughts, we don't need thoughts.
Yeah, or letting them be a part of you too much. Like keep them at a healthy distance in a way, so you can actually, as you say, acknowledge the thoughts.
Yeah, you can see them as as I mean, I sometimes I compare it to like when I would go to the park and I would have a book and I would want to read, and then suddenly all of the people that I know are in that park and they try to access me, right? They try to talk to me and they want something from me, and every time I have to say, hey, I'm currently reading a book and I would love to, continue reading that book. Can we talk later, please?
Yeah.
And then, and they'll go away and they'll just mind their own business again, and you'll read again. And then comes another one and you'll say the same to them. And then, at that, like, if I think about it in that way, you don't really rudely push your friends away or your family away. You tell them, hey, I was actually in the middle of something. Can we talk about this later, in a really like kind, gentle way, right?
Yeah.
So that's one way I like to like look at meditation.
That is very good.
Yeah, so it really helps.
Yeah, very inspirational as well to see it as a synonym like that. Like people want something and it's like, no, I'm doing this, so take it later.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Like they can be there, but they
Yeah, exactly.
At that point they really have to wait for a bit, and they'll come back later, but that's fine. But yeah.
We're gonna go into some finishing questions, and we're gonna go back to a little bit of Twitch and the games as well, but also personally about you. So tell us about 3 video games that can be categorized as, oh, that's so Cave.
At this point, I think that could be Euro Truck Simulator.
We all know why,
maybe,
if you check out Cave's channel.
It's very visible at the moment. Yeah. And then there's I guess Farming Simulator. I think Sim in general, like that. Other things. What is so Cave? I think
I was gonna say Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, good point.
Because you mentioned it's like, oh, that's my one of my favorite games.
Yeah. I think I was when I heard the question, I wasn't really thinking of it like a what is my favorite game, but more like what do people see in what games would they connect to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really thinking of Crash Bandicoot, but I was like, but actually, yeah, I think that Crash Bandicoot is really and Crash Bandicoot has always been my favorite game. It's the first game that I played. I've never been a really like a gamer until after high school, really.
Yeah, that's something we forgot to touch upon in like literally the first question. Like, when did video games come into your life?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. That's when. Well, I played. I've always played video games, but I never really had people in my life that were like, playing the shooters or playing like the real games. And if they did, then it would be, it wasn't really normal that I as a girl would play those games. So I was just a Sims person. But also we had a PlayStation, and Crash Bandicoot was one of those games that we always played. Crash 1, 2, and 3, and then there was Crash Team Racing.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, that was really great, and those were actually the PlayStation games that really stuck to me. The rest, I think there was some Tom and Jerry in there, and some Driver maybe, and but nothing really that stuck to me as much as Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, and then there's, I guess, The Sims is also one of those games that is really, especially The Sims 1. I was such a big fan of The Sims 1. I've played that.
Classic.
I think I played more than 1,000 hours I have in that game. Even more, I don't know. I don't even know how many. And then The Sims 2 as well. And then The Sims 3 and 4 are really less interesting to me, but those games Sims 1 and 2 were like fantastic to me. Yeah.
Cool. Well, now we're approaching the final question, Cave. And that is, tell us something that few people know about you. If it is a hidden talent, a hidden hobby, guilty pleasure, perhaps something you're a hardcore fan of. Surprise us.
I'm having troubles with this because I'm so open about myself. Like I whatever I do or whatever I like, I share with people. So I don't really have something that I hide from people because I don't really know how to hide stuff. But I guess that. Well, I guess the horses at the start, like whenever I see horses, I always go mad. Whenever I see, like, you know, whenever we cycle, or I mean, we're in the Netherlands, cycling is a really common thing here. Whenever we cycle across or past a like a what do you call that? Like a paddock with horses in it, I always go, horsies! I want to pet the horsies! And I literally go like this because I'm so, like, that's the kid in me that really wants to pet the horses. And
it's a nostalgic feeling to that.
Yeah, I mean, I rode horse. I took care of horses when I was a bit younger, and I even was a moderator on a horse, like a Dutch horse forum, for like years, like 7 or 8 years. And I don't really have like any connection with horses anymore. Like I don't really take care of horses anymore because it's really time intensive. And I feel it's a little different than having the animals at your home than it is when you have to actually go to them. So that is yeah. Whenever I see horses, I like the little kid in me just it's like, yay! I want to pet the horsey. It's so cute.
Aww.
I mean, that's how I usually go.
Yeah. Cave, thank you so much for talking with me here. It has been very inspirational conversations about very important topics that we've had here, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. It was really inspirational to me too. And yeah, it was wonderful to have you as a host. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. And make sure to follow Cave over at twitch.tv/CaveMobster. Cave is a big fan of simulation games, as we talked about, and has recently enjoyed games like Farming Simulator, and she's currently playing Euro Truck Simulator. She does amazing art too, and you can follow her creations from sketch to finished artwork. Also, Cave's favorite game is Crash Bandicoot, so there's a little bit of everything for everyone over at Cave's channel. And as you have witnessed here, Cave is a wonderful person and has a lovely community who values discussion about mental health. You'll have a good time over there. Thank you so much, Cave. And that was literally the alarm for keeping us in check with time. So that was great.
Wow, what a timing! That is insane. Wow, that is insane.
Yeah, that was really good. That was really good.
The Nook.
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 The Nook.